This is a practical review of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, filmed on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. We're also using the Creator edition of this with the wireless mic. I will be switching from the onboard mic to the wireless mic that comes with it, and I'll let you know underneath the video or on the video which mic we're using. We're also going to be switching between the wide angle lens that we've got on right now, and then occasionally we'll use the non-wide angle lens, which is just a little lens that sticks on the camera itself. This is purely focused on this camera from my perspective as a YouTuber that's going to be using this camera for professional videos and fitting it into my workflow. So let's get on with this practical review of the DJI Osmo 3. Size really does matter, and for me, with my workflow, what I've moved to is using a mobile phone and then a GoPro to do the vast majority of my filming. Before that, I was using a Sony a6400 with a huge gimbal and some other equipment, and if you've got to travel on planes and you've got to pull out your cameras and do quick instantaneous stuff, which is what you're typically doing with YouTube things, vlogging, capturing stuff that's happening right there and then, that setup is just useless. So the DJI Osmo is absolutely fantastic in that it is super tiny, long, and just the right girth to fit into your pocket, be that front pocket or a back pocket. And really nicely, with its size, you can put the battery extension on it, which gives it additional battery life. I think it's an extra 30-40 minutes from the non-battery extension. And then you can also even put the tripod extension on the bottom of it, and it will still fit in your pocket, though probably poke out a little bit, teasing people that you've got a DJI Osmo in your pocket if you do the full extension kit there. Probably great for pickpockets, but ultimately, it does perfectly fit in your pocket, very much the same as my previous GoPro setup with a GoPro on a little handheld stick. So the size of this is absolutely fantastic. It is worth saying that with its small size, without the battery extension, it is not the most ergonomic of cameras to hold. When you have the battery extension on it though, it does feel absolutely fantastic, though I think the square nature of it means it's not quite as nice as like a round tripod or some kind of actual specialist grip. But with the battery attachment on it, it fits nice in your hand, and crucially, you can access the thumb, the screen and the record button very naturally. And I think it'll accommodate people with small hands or large hands. Without the battery attachment on it though, it's really kind of small, and then your thumb and your grip of it and everything doesn't really line up or make much sense at all, and it does feel very awkward. But that does mean you've then got a super duper tiny camera, and it still works perfectly fine. It's just not the most elegant of things to hold on to. Now, somewhat related to size, but more important, is of course ease of use, and DJI with the DJI Pocket Osmo 3 have absolutely nailed it with this camera. It is so easy to use and so seamless, from the way you turn it on by just moving the screen around and then pressing the record button, turning it vertical if you want to do a filthy TikTok video, the wide lens being able to be taken off and put back on with it using a little magnet system that then fits nicely in the case. The touchscreen and how the touchscreen allows you to access options on the camera with it being nice to touch, unlike again the GoPro. I'm comparing things a lot to the GoPro because that's what I've been using for this type of stuff. But the GoPro touchscreen is still goddamn awful. Touchscreen on this works absolutely phenomenal. The way that you can just tilt your arm to tilt the camera to then take advantage of all the gimbal shots in a very natural way. The software, although a little bit hard to find the software initially, you can just grab it off their website and then install it to your phone, but the software all works really seamlessly. The connection of the camera to your software, I mean, given how complicated of a device it is ridiculously well put together and ridiculously easy to use. Also, the little wireless mic that comes with it, you take it out of the box, you turn it on, and it's connected to the DJI Osmo, and it just works, and the volume level is set up correctly. I mean, the mic does have 32-bit as well, so you're not going to get clipping and all that stuff. I was absolutely, honestly, blown away with the sheer ease of use of this compared to other devices that I've used, especially when you consider the amount of complexity that this has, given that it's also a full-on gimbal and gives you everything that you'd expect from a camera on a gimbal. Absolutely blown away by the ease of use of this camera. In terms of the audio quality, I've just taken the wireless microphone off and we're now using the audio from the device itself and the microphones on the DJI Osmo 3. We were in Hyde Park, we are now by some moderately busy roads near Hyde Park, so you're getting that general kind of ambient noise that you'd expect when filming in most scenarios. And I will say, the onboard microphones, I say, are really quite decent, perfectly usable, not quite as good as the microphone that I get on my Pixel 7, and I don't think quite as good on average than what I get from the GoPro's microphones. For some reason the GoPros have really good mics, especially in very windy conditions and especially in really dynamic conditions. But the onboard microphone is well above what you would need for the vast majority of situations. As you can probably hear now, it's pretty decent. Of course though, the key is this wireless microphone. You take it out, you plug that on, and you're getting really crisp audio, because it's always going to be the case that the closer the microphone is to your mouth, even if it was a crap microphone, and the wireless microphone isn't a crap microphone, but even if it was, the closer a microphone is to your mouth, the better quality it's going to be. Now I'm going to flip the camera around here so you can hear what the microphone on the device itself sounds like with me holding the camera, because when you're doing vlogs with a GoPro, for example, you'll often be talking to the device like this with the camera pointing forwards rather than at your face, which actually often puts the microphone closer to your mouth and you get better audio quality. So we've got a nice white van driving past us here and me talking. I'm sure the transit, I'm surprised he stopped at the red light. He should just go straight through it and run over some pedestrians, because that's part of the qualification process for becoming a transit van driver. But there you go, you can get a good idea of what the onboard device microphone is. For the rest of this video, I'm going to switch back to the wireless microphone because I'm quite frankly in love with it, and you can't beat a microphone right on your snozzle. Now, separate to the microphones, but still actually quite important, is the speaker that's built into the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. And the speaker on this is absolutely superb, and the quality of it really caught me off guard. The importance of the speaker, of course, is that if you record a video, you might want to check that video to make sure that the audio is good quality. And you might want to check that without having to transfer files or mess around with anything. And you can do that with this device straight from the device itself, with the volume going up surprisingly high. So even if you're in a busy street or noisy place, you can turn it right up and still hear enough detail to know that you've actually got good audio that's usable in a video project. I would argue most of the time, or a lot of the time, audio is actually more important than video. You can get away with pretty crappy video quality a lot of the time, but you really cannot get away with crappy audio quality. And again, the usability aspect of this, of being able to swipe across on that touchscreen, press play, listen to the audio on it through that speaker, is super handy. Let's talk a little bit about video quality. Of course, something that's not that important when you're a influencer shill such as myself and you rely on wit, charm and raw sex appeal in videos. But for those of you that don't have that and need a high quality camera, I will say that this does have surprisingly good quality video, even when you're using the wide angle lens on it. Now, the biggest thing that actually makes this have much better quality than you'd initially expect from a small camera is that it has quite a large sensor on it, a 1-inch sensor. And what that means is that, unlike the previous DJI Pocket Osmo cameras and many other cameras out there, you can still get quite a good bit of depth of field on shots, which then makes things pop out and just look a little bit more cinematic and a little bit higher quality, despite the fact that you're not using a fancy DSLR camera lens. Also, with it having the gimbal there, you do get that sort of more cinematic quality, or arguably cinematic quality, with panning shots, opening shots, smooth camera movement, and that smooth camera movement coming from the gimbal as opposed to it using processing and accelerometer based image smoothing. Though that processing-based image smoothing is really, really good on phones and many cameras now, I still think the gimbal actually gets a better, more sharper, more professional result. And you can still put this footage into a computer package that does smoothing if you want to make it super mega ultra smooth at the end of the day. Now, another important aspect of the quality that you get from this, and again I think this is largely due to the larger sensor, is the better handling of contrast and dynamic range. So you have situations now where I've got the sun shining on me on what looks like an egg that's been overboiled, and then shadows, and I still look pretty egg-like. Even with the sun behind me, you can quite clearly see the egg and my face. And it's pretty bad. That is pretty bad conditions for most cameras to have to deal with. And again, the crucial thing with this type of camera is it's the kind of camera that you're going to be pulling out of your pocket and you just want it to work. You know, it doesn't need to be the best image ever. It needs to be usable. And I found with my time with this that when I just pull it out, don't say that too loudly in public, we're getting strange looks, but when you just pull it out, you tend to get usable results. And that, for me, as someone that uses this for work, is literally the most important thing when it comes to image quality and the quality of the camera on devices like this. Now, it would be amiss to talk about the quality of this camera without talking about what the quality is like at night time. And this is with the camera set to the low light mode, which unfortunately loses you the automatic face tracking, though the advantage is you get really good low light performance, again thanks to that 1-inch sensor. Here we are though, of course, not in pitch black, we're in Trafalgar Square, where there are some lights from the buildings, general light pollution in the air, and some lights from the nice fountains that are behind us. But what I have found with this camera when it comes to low light filming is that you don't need to use the low light mode a lot of the time. You can just use the normal mode and it still performs really well in low light. So now I've switched back to the normal mode, and as you can see, it's handling this city situation at night really well. In the low light mode, it's limited to 4K 30 FPS, and in the normal mode, you can do the 4K 60 in this mode that we're running right here. I don't really think you need the low light mode. I mean, we're going to have to take it to a forest or something where it's like actually pitch black. I imagine if you're really indoors in a dark, dingy cellar or something, like a sim racing basement, maybe that will come into good effect. But right here, right now, Fatboy Slim lyrics, the normal mode works perfectly fine. Now, this is probably the ultimate low light test for most devices. We're using the DJI Osmo Pocket 3's face tracking with the DJI Osmo on a monopod, allowing me to basically not have to have a cameraman and do these full body walk and talk shots. Of course, we are using the wireless mic as well, so that's why it sounds so glorious. And as you can see, despite the sun setting behind Buckingham Palace, I can walk around, talk to the camera, and it does a really, really good job of tracking us. And I noticed as well, the actual smoothness of the tracking looks really, really natural. It's not quite as good as a cameraman, so there is still a use for cameramen, but for the most part, we've made them redundant. Absolutely fantastic. So look at that. Now, I wonder how far we can go before it starts losing us. I think we're still on the, we're still being face tracked here. It feels a bit Orwellian though, having this device looking at me. No, we've still got us, and this is like, we're so far away, this is ridiculous. So I don't know where it'll lose us. I can't even tell where it'll lose us. But look at that, absolutely amazing. So for the type of stuff I do, I'm going to do little talking to camera pieces. You're good. Let's walk all the way around it, and you'll see there's actually a tour group behind us. Will it track us all the way around? No, it's given up. Will it re-find us? No, it's given up. It goes halfway around. It won't do the full 360. Or will it? Can we coax it into a 360? Oh, we might be able to here. Here we go. Look at that. We coaxed it into a full 360. There's a tree in the way there. It's still on us. There we go. So you can actually do a full 360 track. There's a very confused tour group behind us, wondering why there's a guy talking to a pole. But that's the beauty of this type of device. It's lost us again there. Let's come back in. And is it recaught us? No. So there is a limit to how much it can rotate but it does actually find you back again when you get to that limit. Again, absolutely fantastic, and that's what makes this type of gimbal device superb for content creators. This video has been far too positive, so we're going to do the usual thing here and point out the negatives and be a bit Britishly miserable. And what I will say is, one thing this camera is not particularly good at is if you're doing first-person video footage, as you would with a GoPro, for example, you can't quite be as snappy with the camera. Like, you're going to have to work with the timing of the gimbal. And even if you put it on the fastest setting, it can still be a little bit slow because it's always going to try and smooth the image out using the gimbal. You very much need to learn what this camera can do, how it can move, how it wants to move, and then work with that to get the best quality out of it. Whereas if you're used to doing first-person videos with a GoPro, you still have to learn the GoPro to get the most out of it, but you can be a lot more snappy and just move it around like a lunatic that's been attacked by bees, and you'll probably get something quite smooth out of it. This is not really an action camera. It's a sort of vlogging first-person video camera. So it's not a surprise that it probably fails at doing that. I do think, though, for the vast majority of situations that vloggers, YouTubers, TikTokers and stuff will be using, this is going to cover those situations perfectly fine. It would just be those action situations where you're unfortunately probably going to need to have an action camera along with you in your bag. Now, aside from that, I will also say there are some text messages that pop up on the screen to guide you when you change mode and stuff, and they're a bit obnoxiously big and stay on the screen a bit too long. There might be a setting to turn them off. I've not found it yet. You could argue they're quite good in some ways because it does mean that the instructions are clear and you can read them quickly when you're not 100% focusing on them. But once you've used the camera for a bit, you'll already know about all that stuff and you won't need it to be reminded to you. So that's a little bit annoying. Also, I do think having the wide angle lens on it as an attachment is a little bit annoying. Like, I'd like it to just do the wide angle as a mode or a button push and have that built into it rather than having a physical lens to add on and take off. Now, it's nice how they've done it, so you can just, it's magnetised, it just sticks on and you can keep it in the case. There's a little slot for it in the case here. So the way they've done it is perhaps the best way they could do it, and you'll be able to get aftermarket attachments as well. But I really like with these pocket small devices, it's the fact of just having everything in a single unit and as less cumbersome as possible and as neat and tidy as possible. With this on the case, this negatives is going to go on forever, but this is kind of useful stuff I think for you guys that are thinking of getting one. With the case as well, so it is really quick and easy to pull it out of your pocket and put it in the case, which basically just hides the screen, holds it in position, and means it's not going to get damaged in transit without you having to put it in a really advanced case. It's just a little carrying case. It's a shame that this case doesn't have the option for it to be attached to the actual DJI Osmo Pocket 3 itself, with you being able to sort of hinge it down so it's always attached to it. The result is, when you pull out the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 from your pocket, you've got the case, you then pull it off, you then have to put your case in your pocket, then you've got this thing that you could drop and lose, and you know, it's another thing to think about. It works well, I've got used to it, it is quite a good solution, but you know, I just like things to be integrated. I'm spoiled now. And finally, the last thing I have issue with this device is the joystick on it, which is not an analog stick. And even with tinkering around with the settings on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, you can't get the joystick to operate the gimbal completely as smoothly as you'd want it to. Now, you can get around that by learning how to tilt the camera and manipulating the DJI Osmo to get it to move how you want to. But from my experience of using gimbals in the past and just in general, I like to be very active with controlling it. There's times where I want to correct it, and I want to correct it using the joystick, but it really doesn't work too well. It's there as an option, but you'll notice in videos when the user moves the joystick to move the camera into a different position or reset the view height and stuff, you'll notice that the joystick's being used. It would have been really nice for this to have some kind of like analog joystick on it rather than its basic clicky joystick. It's, you know, it's not the end of the world. I just need to learn how to use it by tilting it rather than the joystick, but it does annoy me a tiny bit. But that is pretty much it, guys, for the negatives on this. It's an absolutely incredible camera. I will say, you know, if you're on a tighter budget and you're not making money from your TikTok or YouTube channel, you're like starting out with stuff, just use your mobile phone. That would be my advice with photography and anything. If you're not making money from it, just use your phone. Phones are bloody amazing these days. And then get something like this once you're making money from your YouTube channel. The £600 that this costs for someone that's a professional is nothing. This is, I would just say, if you're a professional content creator, just get one of these. I would definitely go for the Creator Edition that has the microphone with it. I think that's well worth getting that, and the extra battery pack is really useful, especially the battery pack as well for how it operates as an additional easier way to hold on to the device. But the basic edition is £500. You could get that and then you could add stuff to it over time. But I think the Creator Edition is where this is really at and where this really offers fantastic value for money. I bought this on a bit of a whim. I was like, okay, I've had my GoPro for a while. I want to try something different. I want the gimbal type quality of shots. I want to do establishing shots. I want to do, you know, nice pans and sweeps and stuff. Although I'd advise you guys, don't go overboard with that. A still shot is actually really good most of the time. People, when they get a gimbal, go crazy. But I like the quality of what you get from a gimbal on a camera, and I like having that option without having to carry loads of crap around with me. And especially without having to also attach a phone to something. I like the device to be a dedicated device, and well, this fits that niche. I've got my phone, and I can do a lot of filming with my phone, and I've used my phone, just my phone on its own, for actual paid professional projects. So again, a phone's really good, especially the newer phones with great cameras on them. So I've got my phone for pick it out, I've already got my phone out, quick shots and everything, and then I've got this DJI Osmo Pocket 3 for pick it out, film stuff quickly, and it turns on pretty much immediately, but also more nicely framed shots, more thought about shots, establishing shots, and more sort of arty shots. Not as good as a DSLR with a big lens on it, but I'll have it in my pocket, it'll be ready to go, and I'll be able to get more content with it. So the camera that you've got is always the best camera. That's been the saying since the 1800s, or whenever they invented the camera. So yeah, absolutely blown away by this device. I highly recommend it. I think this is just going to become the default vlogging camera, to be honest. I can't see why it wouldn't. You're still going to need action cameras for action stuff, but for pure vlogging and this type of content, absolutely amazing. If you want to get one and you want to support the channel, you can use our Amazon links, and I'll have the latest price for this. That'll be in the description. So just click on that and that will take you to the store. I think we've got US and UK stores, different links and what have you. But click on that and that supports us. You can also click the subscribe button and like as well. Comments, if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments and I'll try and answer those questions as soon as I possibly can. So yeah, but great job by DJI. This is my best device of 2023. What a surprise. But till the next one, guys, most importantly of all, drink too much tea, get some tea, get it down your throats, and have a good afternoon. Take care, and goodbye, guys.